Hello and welcome back to the studio. As you can see, a blank black canvas. Is it because I'm in the dark about what I'm painting? Well, not quite. By now you'll have seen the thumbnail, and that tells you that I'm doing a silhouette painting. Silhouette simply means a dark or black outline against a lighter background, or sometimes conversing the other way around. I want this to be a painting that anybody could paint and that everybody should paint. My theme? Well, we'll wait and see. Happy painting, people, and make sure you watch right to the very end. There's lots of detail included right at the very last moment, maybe even an outtake or two.
For today's painting, I've gathered together some items. I've got some outlines of elephants, and link to Pixabay in the description, some sticky back plastic. I've also got a pencil, some graphite paper and a biro. And what's this? A mouse? Near an elephant? I don't think so. My first task is to get an outline of the elephant onto the sticky back plastic. Here you see I've used a graphite pencil to cover the back of the piece of paper with a little bit of graphite. To keep everything in position, I'm going to use some masking tape. Just a couple of bits should do the trick. Then I'm going to use a biro and firm pressure just to really push into the paper, and this should leave a little outline in graphite of the elephant. It's not easy to see on camera, but it's easy if you don't have a piece of this, graphite paper. It's a very useful thing to have if you're doing a lot of sort of outlines. Here you see I transfer another elephant, and to make things easy for you to see, I simply used a Sharpie pen to fill in the shape. Now we have an outline, it's just a matter of cutting it out. Don't forget, it's the elephant you want to keep, not the piece of plastic you're cutting it from. Yes, I made that mistake before. The next step is to work out the horizon line. I'm going to come up from the base of my canvas about a third. I use the handle of my brush as a handy measuring guide. So, decision time, with or without the elephants. It's your world, as Bob would say. Paint what makes you happy. This is it without the elephants. I just used some masking tape to remind me where the horizon line is. Well, here you see I've put the elephants on. They're just visible. The first step is to coat the entire canvas with a thin coat of Bob Ross liquid clear oil paint. Here I have some in a small airtight container. I'm going to use this old landscape brush with the orange tip to really scrub on a thin, even coat. It's essential that you only put on the smallest amount just to ease the application of colour. You definitely don't want too much. When you run your finger across it, it should just be tacky. I made a video all about this. I'll leave a link here in the corner. I'll carry on and cover the entire canvas, being careful not to dislodge those elephants or the masking tape. Here you see my canvas is completely covered with a very thin, even coat of that Bob Ross liquid clear. I want to use this brush again, but I want to get rid of the liquid clear excess, so I rub it on a paper towel. Make sure you remove that. Here you see my basic palette. The first colour I'm going to start with is some Indian yellow. I load my brush well, pulling the paint into the centre of the palette. Incidentally, it's a disposable paper palette. It's actually freezer paper. I will leave a link in the description. My first task is to put this Indian yellow on as the horizon line. And this is a semi-transparent colour, so it sort of goes a sort of yellowy green colour, just visible over the black. I want a nice wide band of this. Don't be too mean with it. That's it. Spread it out a little further. My next colour is going to be this one. Dark sienna. Again, a small amount. Just mix it on the same brush. I didn't bother washing or cleaning it. This colour goes right above the horizon line. I let it creep up at the sides a little more and mix in with the Indian yellow. Here you see, I test my colours and they're, well, a little bit watery. I think I want some more of the dark sienna colour. There, I think that's better. I need to change brushes now. This one's done a little bit too much work. for the next colour, which will be a bright orange colour. Indian yellow, a touch of red. If I was to use that last brush, well, this would be a real pickle, wouldn't it? So I've got a lovely, fresh, clean brush into that lovely orangey colour. Load your brush well. And this colour is going to go above the Indian yellow. And once again, semi-transparent. I'll let it creep up a little at the sides. I make sure these colours all touch each other and blend slightly. I don't want any hard edges though. My next colour is lavender. I take alizarin crimson and a little phthalo blue. Put them side by side and then mix them well. I keep adding small amounts of blue until I get the right tone. I want a lovely mid-lavender colour, not too red and not too blue. There, that looks about right. Now, I've got 2 brushes already on the go. I could add a third, but I think this one might do the job, but that one definitely not. So, you're safe for the minute. Let's clean this brush up. Dry clean it on a piece of paper towel. If your brush looks like this, you're probably safe. But if you're not sure, use a clean dry brush. There, I think we're good. Straight into that lovely lavender colour. And this of course goes in a band above that lovely orange tone. I let these touch as well and check my colour as I go with my fingertips. This colour is fully transparent, so you won't see it against the black. I'll blend this in, take it right to the very edges, then blend it gently into the top of my orange colour. But not too much because it tends to make a sort of a brown tobacco stain, not so pleasant. And with that same brush, I finally go into some phthalo blue and black. I want a really dark inky blue colour for the very top part of my canvas. And with that, my background sky colours are finished. The only problem is you can't see them yet, so here's a reminder of what I put where. The next step is to mix up a lovely creamy white colour. I take some yellow ochre into titanium white. As I said, cream or off-white works better for this sort of scene. Titanium white is a little bit harsh and can make the painting look a little cold. Here you see I'm using a nice fan brush, something that's not too worn. I'm loading my brush with a good amount of my creamy yellow colour. I'm going to go right into the centre of my painting with some little sort of dipping strokes. Overlap them. This is going to be the focal point of my sky, the brightest point. I do the Indian yellow first, and as you see, I pick up a little colour, but not enough to upset the painting. As I work to the corners and edges, I start bumping into some of that dark sienna. Still okay though. I wipe off a little of the excess paint though, because this is really too bright and it will just overcome all the other colours. Now I blend down into the dark sienna. I want a sort of nice warm coffee glow on the horizon line. I probably could have been a little bit stronger with the dark sienna, but I think I'm going to get away with it. I gently feather those edges together, but don't worry, we'll come back and go over this again with a nice clean 1-inch brush. You see as I start working up, I start bumping into that lovely orangey colour. I reload my brush with a little more paint. This is where your painting really comes alive. Almost fiery. Isn't that lovely? This is such a lovely painting to do, and one I think that anybody really could do. Just putting on some transparent colours or some semi-transparent colours, and then using a creamy white colour over the top. It's like magic. In fact, I did the same sort of demonstration for a seated audience at an art show once. They were mesmerised. Where on earth did all those colours come from? But that's our secret. But I'm going to give you a top tip next. Don't go too bright too soon. If you do, it loses that lovely magic effect of light going in to dark. Remember, you can always add more colour, but you can't get it off. Also, don't be tempted to go back down to the bright area with that dirty brush. You'll be in a real pickle that's difficult to fix. I go back into my light colour and you see I'm starting to dirty it up a little bit. The very top of my canvas is blue and black, one that looked like almost like a night sky. Now I take a clean, fresh, dry 1-inch brush, nice and soft, a piece of paper towel. I just want to blend out some of the harsh marks that I made, but not all of them. I like some of the detail left behind. Here you see, as I blend, I dry clean my brush. Time I get to the top of my canvas, I'm into that lovely dark blue-black colour. But I stood back and thought, I've got a tree to go here, and it might not show up against that background. I think I'll add a little brighter colour here. On the left you can see how it started out. It was really quite dark, and now there's a nice bright glow. Time to paint a tree. I'm going to use my palette knife just to sketch the position of it. I use the point of the knife just to do the main trunk. It's an acacia tree, very common in Africa. I do the central trunk and a few side branches as well. But don't worry if you don't like it, you can simply pick up that 1-inch brush and blend it out. And just like magic, it'll disappear and you can try again. The acacia tree has a very, very distinctive shape, like an umbrella. The lower branches have all been nibbled clear of vegetation by giraffes. Next, I use a liner brush and I go into my mainly black colour with a tiny drop of linseed oil. Roll the brush and bring it to a fine point. I want just to reinforce some of these trunks and branches. It's a good idea to have a practice on your palette first. Make sure you're happy. Here you see I hold my brush far back down the handle. Just go back over some of those scratched out areas. Once again, I managed to get my hand in the way. I don't know why, but there we are. I concentrate on my painting so much that I forget that you're watching as well. I add a few more extra branches to the sides of my tree. I dry clean my fan brush. I'm going to dab on some foliage, all in silhouette of course. Back into my mainly black mixture with a touch of blue in it still. And again, dab into the paint, knock off some of the surplus, have a little practice run on your palette, and then try on your painting. This has got to be one of the easiest trees to paint. You're using the shape of the fan brush to help you. I start out with just a little bit of paint, just a few practice dabs. Once I get confident, I'll add a little more paint to my brush. Now you see, adding that slightly brighter sky in the background behind the tree really pays dividends. I'll add a little more paint to my brush and fill in a bit of my tree, but leaving a few nice holes through to show the background sky. Remember to stand back often. This is one part of your painting you don't want to overdo. I said, Mr. Painterman, don't overdo it. Look, I said don't. He never listens, does he? What a buffoon. I think he stopped just in time. When you're happy, take off the masking tape. This reveals the horizon line, but don't worry too much if it's not perfectly straight or level. This isn't the sea. Now, I want to gather up all my dark colours, the lavender and the blue-black colours. I want to make a really good dark inky colour for the foreground. Add a little more crimson and some blue and mix it all up. There, I think that's going to work well. I used the brush that I used for the top of my sky to scrub in some of this nice inky blue-black colour. Don't forget, you want to come right up to the horizon line at this stage. If you've got elephants there, be careful not to dislodge them. I bring this all the way down to the bottom of the canvas, and of course, I check. That's a little bit oily. I want a touch more colour there. Make sure you give yourself a nice even colour all the way to the bottom. I got my fan brush back, and I used it for the tree last, and I'm going to use it now to just flick up. I want to create the silhouette of some grasses. This really helps to soften the horizon line. Small ones and long ones. Just a few flicks is all it takes. If you enjoy my tutorials, don't forget, like and subscribe. Leave a comment for me as well. If you have a question, I try my best to answer it. This really helps YouTube know that I'm doing something you're enjoying, and they'll share it with other people, and my little channel will grow. If you want to go a little further, you can even buy me a coffee. I spend all the money on paint supplies. Thank you. I enjoy painting the acacia tree so much that I want to add a few more to the background. These can be a little smaller so they look a little further away. I won't bother painting the trunks in though with the liner brush. Just scratching them out with the tip of a palette knife will work just well. This really helps to add depth and distance to your paintings. Take your time with them. It's this lovely detail that really makes your painting stand out. I want to use my fan brush one more time, so I dry clean it, knock off all that really heavy paint. I go back into my creamy white colour that's, well, quite contaminated now, but that's perfect. I don't want this to be too bright. I want to paint some sort of shadowy details in the foreground, so I start out a little on the dark side. I think there might be a little pathway here going off into the distance. I know, you can't see a thing. I didn't realise when I painted this that the camera wasn't picking up any of the detail. I've increased the exposure a little bit, but nah, you still can't see enough. I think I need to do something else to my painting and start over. This time a little bit brighter colour. Some white, touch of Indian yellow, and that should show up. Let's try. Way off in the distance in the background, some more of those little dipping strokes. I want this to be just bright enough so you can see it, and I want it to be broadening out and getting wider as it comes towards me. This helps with perspective. In other words, things further away tend to look like they're smaller and narrower. A few little upward flicks to add a little bit more brightness to the silhouette. Here you see, I build up the brightness steadily. Just a little here and a little there. And slowly but slowly, the mid and foreground comes into focus. I'll add a little sparkle of colour to some of these grasses, as though the light is just catching the tips. If I overdo it, repair is easy. Just pick up that dark brush and block them out. And you can start over again as many times as you like. Well, within reason.
So here's my painting so far, and I'm really pleased with it. I think this is a really lovely, colourful scene. But of course, it's missing something. That's right. There should be some elephants somewhere in the background. It's probably one of the worst kept secrets of any of my paintings. You've been able to see them almost from the beginning, but they haven't been revealed yet. So it's about time I actually let my Nellies come into view. So sit tight.
I've armed myself with a piece of paper towel and the palette knife. The trick is to find the elephant. I snag just one foot and carefully peel off the sticky back plastic to reveal the silhouette of an elephant. How neat is that? Number 2 and the third one. There. Another magic trick. But let me shine a light across the canvas and you can see that, well, they're still dull. There's no liquid clear on them. They look a bit odd. I think I need to do some work on this. I need a steady hand. For this I'm going to use my marl stick. Just a stick with a hook on the end. And I'm going to use a small flat synthetic brush. I'm going to be using some of this. It's linseed oil. It's a little bit thinner and waterier than liquid clear. I take the tiniest drop on that flat brush. Just gently fill in the shape of the elephant. Now, I did this a few days after I finished the background, so this is dry to the touch. It makes life a lot easier. But I want to do another little step with these elephants. They got the sheen, but they still look a little bit, well, flat. They need a bit more 3D. I've mixed up some more of my Payne's grey colour. A phthalo blue, touch of crimson, touch of yellow ochre, dab of white, and a little bit of black. I want this really dark sort of plum purple colour. Add the smallest amount to your brush. A tiny amount is all you need. I just want to add the suggestion of a little bit of referred light. Maybe a little bit of colour on the forehead. It looks a bit bright. I'll wipe some paint off. Add a little bit more. Maybe pick out the shape of an ear. Still a bit bright. I'll just smudge that in with the tip of my finger. Remember, this is just a subtle addition of detail. Nothing too bright. Maybe a little colour catching the underside of a leg. A little bit of differentiation between those back legs. Same for the little baby elephant. A bit round the ear. Maybe this one as well. It makes just that subtle difference to the elephants and really makes them become alive. And of course, my elephant wouldn't be complete without a tail. Add a little touch with a liner brush, and of course, I'll give him his little tassel on the end as well. Same for the baby. One final touch is to add the suggestion of a shadow. And I think with that, I have a finished painting. Silhouettes of elephants. A painting anybody could do.
So here's my finished painting. A lovely silhouette scene of some elephants under an acacia tree. And I truly think this is a painting that anybody could paint. If you don't like elephants or wildlife or anything, you can just do it. There's a lovely sunrise or a sunset. Maybe even change it up and do a different sort of scene. Maybe the skyline of a big city or some hills. The choice is endless. But don't move, because there's some more lovely inspirational paintings coming right along for you. Happy silhouette painting, people. I said it right.
Somewhere around here there's an elephant. Here? 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 Oh, bloody hell. It's here somewhere. Come on, where are you? There you are. There, gotcha. Now then, try again. Just about. Oh, bloody hell, where's it gone? It's here somewhere. Right, that's it. And exactly where it is. Roll the camera. And oh, bugger. Talk about the elephant in the room. Can't even find one on the enemy canvas.